Well, fucking get on with it.
All right. Welcome to 20-Sided Bullshit. It's a podcast about stuff.
Mostly bullshit.
Yeah. I'm Jazz. That's Bill.
Yep.
That's Oscar.
Yo.
And we're going to be your podcast host for this. We're going to talk about all the things that we're into, which is all the stuff that probably got you beat up in high school.
But now we're adults.
Us. This guy was cool, right?
Yeah, this kid, your generation,
I'm just saying.
made you popular.
I'm just saying. I made some money off that.
I didn't even consider playing Magic in school.
I started hustling people for cards and stuff. I was
shit.
So,
Ours is drugs and chicks.
this is episode 1. And so I guess we should do some sort of primer on what we're actually going to talk about. And it's... I
don't like how you're looking at me like that.
You described it best. Why don't you try and explain that again?
I would assume I was going to remember what I just said. What is a geek culture podcast, I think is what we're going for, right?
Yeah, but I think you described it as like...
All the things at the game shop.
Yeah.
Right? So you go to your local game shop. It's got your comic books. It's got your games. It's got anime, your Gundam stuff. Not huge into like the comic book models and stuff like that, but someone might be. I don't know. But, that kind of thing, right? Cons,
If you've ever gone to PAX, that's like literally
that stuff.
all that stuff.
Yeah.
So there you have it. That's kind of... It's going to be what we're talking about. For the most part. I'm not saying our conversations might not get a little tangential in there.
Not saying we might not get spicy.
Yeah.
I'm almost promising they will.
That's the other
We'll
thing.
definitely get
Is,
spicy.
this is 3 friends around a table having some drinks, discussing all the stuff that they dig. Some of it's... Fair warning, it's probably not going to be PG around here.
Yeah.
Oh no.
If you're shocked, go look at what we named the show.
I mean, I'm pretty sure I'm
I mean,
gonna have to censor something because at the beginning of the episode I said, "Well, fucking get on with it."
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of like if your kid heard a couple F-bombs, I'm pretty sure they have. I mean,
Yeah.
you'll be all right.
But,
Yeah.
if you're trying to introduce your 8-year-old to, like, My First Ticket to Ride, probably not the podcast that they
watch
need to be
Tabletop.
listening to. Yeah. You're good somewhere. But,
Will Wheaton's pretty. Makes it easy on you.
that's true.
It's got a big fuzzy table.
This is a nice table.
Glorious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty amazing. So, I guess we'll just get right on with it. Some of the easy ways to kind of get into some of this conversation is kind of what's, I guess, current geek events, like things that are kind of going on in nerd world right now. There's a bit of a thing going on with probably everybody's first experience with serious gaming, and they're releasing some new content that I know is kind of... It's sticking with Bill wrong. He's just not enjoying the news.
Well, I mean, I think the first thing that pissed me off about it was hearing...
Well, hold on. Before you go into what pissed you off about it, why don't you go ahead and describe what's pissing you off?
Okay. Curse of Strahd revamped, right? Sure. You want to make a little extra money off a pretty box and some cool shit.
And they
fine.
don't mean new vampires.
No.
That's not what they mean by revamped.
Well, and that's the first part that pissed me off, right? Is that the actual first time they revamped it was Curse of Strahd. Because, let's be real, if you've been playing D&D longer than the last 5 years, you know that Curse of Strahd is really just the Castle Ravenloft box set.
Yep.
Right? From what, 2nd edition?
100%.
First, 2nd edition? Yeah. It's the same damn adventure, and the map's almost the same. So... I mean, you got a couple NPCs, so yeah, good on you, Mike. I mean, you're solid, right? But outside of that, it's the same damn module and hardcover you charge me $50 for instead of like 15, right? But then you're gonna release this revamped, right? There's this cute little coffin box. So I can get behind cute boxes, right? But then you look at it and look at why. And the why is the part that kills me. Because they decided to revamp the campaign because it was insensitive to the Romani peoples. Which, frankly, I guess that makes me a little insensitive. I didn't know who the hell they were until I heard about this. And then got to look, and I guess they're, some Slavic tribe that were gypsies, and they were kind of maligned in the book, made to look like evil gypsies. Which, frankly, every time I've played this adventure, the old and the new, it's been more just like they're evil gypsies. I didn't really point out that they're real people in any way.
It's been a while since I've looked at any of the Strahd stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But they weren't by name in there.
No, they were called the Vistani.
Right. It's
Completely
like
different name.
It's a
but they're close enough that people recognize them, or at least drew a close enough conclusion, which is a problem with the whole corrective culture thing we're going through right now anyway. Is that if someone can draw a possible likeness, they assume that's just how it is.
Yeah, that's what.
Yeah. I don't think that Gary Gygax and all of his bros back in the 80s decided, screw the Romani people. I'm going to make a D&D module about them to be a
just
jerk.
doesn't strike me
it
that
was
these guys.
Yeah, but even then.
No, but you got to keep in mind is, look, we all come out of the geek culture.
Yeah.
The geek culture is quite possibly one of the most inclusive. You do you, be what you want to be. I don't really care as long as you can make game night kind of communities you can belong to.
Dude, yeah. I mean, like when I was in junior high, we didn't have girls in the game because they were girls. It's because they didn't come. Right?
Yeah,
I'd be more than happy that girls came. Right?
So, I think that's what he's talking about when he's saying Gary Gygax wasn't sitting around doing that in the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
Because if anything,
He's selling paper.
With this inclusive, with the big, huge push for inclusivity or canceling or whatever that's out there now, if you look at the culture piece that we all follow, like look at, I'm working my way through Star Trek Next Generation again for the however manyth time I've watched that.
Not enough times?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go watch those. And that show started in 87.
If it wasn't 87, it was real close to that 90 turnaround. Yeah.
I think it was 87 to 89. And some Trekkie out there is going to destroy me now. But
yeah. Like my father-in-law.
Yeah. Go watch those. And those seasons, there's episodes in there that deal directly with sexual orientation or cultures being judged strictly for existing.
That's always been Star Trek's chick, right?
But
that's what they do.
But the whole show is the core of that show going, this isn't what we do. You don't judge people on this. You don't whatever. You judge character. You don't judge where somebody's from or whatever.
Yeah.
Like that's not. So the fact that you're going after D&D to try and I'm sorry, but if it's not Gary Gygax anymore. It's not even Wizards anymore. It's Hasbro. This is a pander move. This is look at us. We can be part of this too. And it's like,
yeah,
that culture is already quite possibly, the culture that we all belong to is quite possibly the most inclusive, understanding group that you can belong to.
Yeah, I would argue the Gen Xers didn't give a damn.
Well,
I mean, I think that was actually the true raceless.
That's more
generation, right?
That's more of where I line up, and and you do too.
Yeah,
so
we didn't care if you were black.
It tends to get you in more trouble now.
Yeah,
because when they go like, "Well, I'm just," I'm like, I don't care.
So
I don't care. Like, and not you somehow get judged for it because you are an example of what people want as an end result, which is that none of it should matter. But then they come to you because they want you to like be on their side, but you're the end result where you're like, I don't freaking care.
Yeah, this is how it should be.
Right? Yeah, like I'm already behaving the way that you want everybody to behave, so I don't know what more you want me to do. But so to go after that group and be like, well, we need to fix this because somehow this imaginary group, somebody has imagined a result of an imaginary group that is somehow slighting a group that arguably doesn't even exist anymore.
Well, and we were talking about this offline a little bit too, right? But Tasha's Cauldron of Everything is doing the same damn thing, right? They're talking about changing rules inside of basic D&D, basic 5e, I should say, where the orcs aren't necessarily an evil race, or neither the kobolds. And it's like, well, they're monster races. There can be exceptions.
Sure. Now,
right?
There's a precedent for things like playing a half orc or doing this, that, and the other. So the whole not necessarily making orcs an evil race, or if you want to make them a playable race or whatever, that doesn't bother me. What bothers me more about the stuff that you were talking about is if you want to play an evil race, a detrimental race, a whatever. And by the way, fantasy, D&D is a fantasy role-playing game. If you don't believe me, go pick up anything that's ever been printed with the word Dungeons and Dragons on it. It says a fantasy role-playing game on the front. I don't like that they're getting rid of negative modifiers.
Yeah. That was a big stinger, right? Because, well, not only does it break the game, because then you might as well just be a freaking orc, right? So you get like +2 in 2 different stats,
Yep.
and then they could be fucking wizards too.
Yeah, insanely strong, and now you're also a mage. Like, fuck off.
Yeah.
Like,
so
sorry, but-
why be a human anymore?
Yeah.
I mean, you get a feat. Big freaking deal, right?
Why go half elf? There's no point.
Well,
Why go
you're just
half
half
orc?
useless, right?
Yeah.
Why go,
You know?
why go half orc?
Yeah.
When you can go full orc and get all the benefits.
Why not just go orc?
Yeah.
I mean, it's I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not a fan of power gaming. That's not just like my style of play. Some people are, though, right? And so what that'll mean is that everyone who's going to power game, or everyone who's probably playing an organized play, is going to show up with an orc. So you have 15 varieties of orcs, which means we just killed all the variety by taking away the fact that some types of creatures are not as good at things, usually.
Sounds like you had a question.
Well, because I definitely am. I definitely meta build my characters.
Oh, you were.
I definitely meta build my characters.
Hey, if that's your game, that's your game, right?
It's the way I play, but
Yeah.
I meta build my characters, but I still play a character. I don't play a power hungry animal.
Well, you can play a power hungry animal.
I can too, yeah.
Right? You know?
But the when you get rid of those negative modifiers, you're getting rid of
Choice.
Well, not only that, but the most unique thing you can give your characters: flaws. No character is perfect.
Well, but now, with getting rid of negative modifiers, you have taken away any of the risk-reward factor on choosing to play anything.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, so there's no drawback to playing this. No. So why wouldn't I, and so it just turns into, I don't have a problem with the idea of well, we're going to go deeper into their culture piece so that there's more backstory.
Which
For
they
you to
did in
build
Volo's
on.
guide, right? Which was cool as shit. I
about
loved getting the whole ecology of mind flayers. That was awesome.
Right. I'm all about that. If you're going to give more flavor to a playable character, so there's more to build with. But there should be drawbacks. I don't care what it is, whether it's any game, not just D&D. Any game should have a drawback. There should be.
It's a game.
There should be something where you go this is something I have to work around. It can't all just be.
Well, and
It can't just all be perks.
the best role play comes from hindrances, right? Or what you're bad at.
Like I said, flaws. Like if you have a negative intelligence, like you have a bad intelligence, your character just does dumb things.
GURPS and Savage Worlds actually work it into the mechanics, where during character creation you have to build in things you're bad at.
Yep.
Which gets you benefits, but then you have this bank of bad things. So if you play your character in their bad habit, then you get benefit out of it.
Savage Worlds had that huge addiction mechanic.
Oh yeah.
So you take the addiction and you got a boon for it, but
And you get bennies all day from it, right?
but if you didn't feed that, your character was literally useless.
You start getting fatigue, you start getting worse at things. Yeah. It was great.
But it gives it in a role-playing scenario, it gives that world a sense of flavor where it's all not just
It's variety.
victory. It gives you a reason to actually look at risk mitigation and look at how you're going to play the character and how do I turn that drawback into a strength? How do I? It actually provides a challenge.
Well, and to that point, I mean, that's my whole argument on basically when 3rd edition came around, because I've been playing D&D since freaking early 90s, right? But my issue with 3rd edition and beyond was the whole idea of an encounter balance, right? Why should an encounter be balanced? Why couldn't you just go to explore some cave you heard about and, oh shit, there's a dragon?
Yeah.
The dragon being there has no relevance to you being in first level or not, right? you made a poor choice. You're in a bad freaking spot. Figure it the hell out, or become a crispy spot on this freaking front porch, right? That's D&D, right? I mean, that's life. The D&D is supposed to be a simulation of life, right? So what the hell is encounter balance, right? If you decide to go invade a freaking, a hideout for goblins, if there's 30 of them there, they don't give a shit what level you are. There's 30 of them there, right?
Also, you're going into their territory, so they have traps set up everywhere.
And I had the same argument for intelligent monsters too, right? I mean, goblins are semi-tactical, otherwise it wouldn't be alive, right? So they're not just going to storm into a buzzsaw of characters, right? They're going to take advantage of their situation, right?
Yep.
Because they're little shits who get harassed by everything else, right? Same thing with kobolds for that matter.
Yeah.
People just throw them into the buzzsaw for XP, and it's like, no, they're mean little shits. You need to figure out,
These are
how to get around them.
These are community building rat people.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
That survive somehow in this whole monstrous ecology,
yeah,
right?
like,
Yeah.
sorry, but no. I think Pathfinder handled goblins brilliantly. I think Pathfinder goblins are quite possibly my favorite representation of a goblin ever. Because those things, oh my god, just evil little bastards.
Yeah.
And then they would rank up. Like you had the minion little goblins that were just everywhere, and then you had they kind of tiered out to where you could end up with this thing's going to destroy me, and it's just you had no chance.
Yeah.
So,
and even the 5e goblins aren't bad, but most people don't play them up very well, right? Because they'll let their player characters hide, using stealth, like in broad daylight half the time in an open field, right? But then they leave out the fact that these goblins can do that shit as a bonus action. They can just go disappear.
yeah.
And that's what they're good at, right? So they're going to shoot you with an arrow and then freaking they're gone, right? So retaliation's not an option.
You can also crit fail on your spell cast during a campaign and turn 12 goblins invisible in the middle of a furnace and watch your world go horribly wrong.
That sounds like DCC, which I'm 100% behind.
That also sounds like
that was
something we've
Pathfinder.
experienced.
Pathfinder,
Is that Rise
cast.
of the Rune Lords or something? Or?
Yep.
Yeah.
It was Rise in the Glassworks.
Oh, I remember
One of the
wrecking
other-
you guys with that one. That was awesome.
The first time I played that campaign was in the Glassworks.
Yeah.
One of my fellow players cast their spell, crit failed, and we were running the Pathfinder made those decks.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So
deck
like
of
if you crit
fails.
failed, you didn't. The GM didn't make it up. You literally like drew a card, and that's what your crit failure was. And the crit failure was for the spell. Crit failure was because it would say like physical, helpful, and then magic. So it was like the three categories. And the magic one was everything within the target radius is turned invisible. So
That's awesome.
it turned like 11 goblins in the Glassworks invisible. So there you are, just blazing furnace, everything's horrible anyways, and the whole building's on fire with 11 invisible goblins running around. And you're like level 2 while it's going on. Like it's
a bad place.
It's not great.
And you're just standing there literally saying, this is fine.
No. That was a prime example of 20-sided bullshit happening right there. It was just it rolled and I was like, that's not going to be good. And they drew the card and I was like, told you this was not going to be good.
Well, I mean,
And I default to Bard. Like that's my default player.
Yeah.
And
You just don't stop talking when you're a bard, though.
it's awesome. And
The one time I played
Inspiring.
with you and you were bard, I swear, I was like, in my head, I was like, I gotta be respectful. But the other part of my head, I was like, shut the fuck up!
playing D&D, you have to be respectful.
yeah. No, we were playing Star Wars.
Oh.
Yeah.
So I took a Bard class in Star Wars. And everybody's all freaking meted out and ready to do this shit. I'm sitting there just talking my way through everything. And they were like,
of course, I min-max my character.
yeah, and so everybody's just ready for a gunfight. And I'm just like, I'm talking everybody into what I want and just like trucking through this thing. And
Nice.
the game master's sitting there just letting me do it. Like I'm just running the game and everybody's sitting around just. I'm like, what? He gave me the ship. He gave me everything I wanted. Like what?
I'm standing there holding my
Mission
D20 and my
accomplished.
D12, just like waiting. I'm like, I don't know what to do with my hands.
Playing D20 Star Wars?
Yeah, he still did. It was still based on the dice system.
Dude, that's a
D20
deep
system.
cut, man. Fucking
Yeah, it was old
D20
school.
Star Wars?
Yeah.
I was saying, I've got the FFG books, and that game is freaking incredible.
Well, that runs on
Edge
that.
of Empire is a really, really cool system.
Yeah, that's the
It
FFG
is
one.
extremely narrative based there.
Oh, yeah. No, you got all the narrative dice, and everything's kind of
Yeah.
cancel out, and you've got, like, threat and success and all that, so you've got various degrees of success. You know, the game works out great.
It is super fun.
And they've got Age of the Rebellion, which gives you more of the military style stats and such. And then they've got the Force and Destiny, which is more of your Jedi
Yeah.
Sith stuff, right?
Yeah.
And that game's freaking great. And it's so much fun. The problem is that for some reason I can't get players to keep playing it. We play, everyone has a freaking great time, everyone's super stoked about it, and then people quit showing the hell up.
I honestly think that's the fault of the dice system.
Like, you gotta be too creative?
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
that's the fault of the dice system, honestly.
Because D&D makes it easy, right?
It makes it too easy.
You whack the goblin or you didn't.
Yeah, it makes it way too easy, but you have to actually count up the dice.
But there's
I don't
some
think
cool
that's
depth,
the fault
right?
of anything. I think anybody that's ever played
lazy
a
players.
role-playing game,
Damn.
and whether that's us or the people listening or whatever, the fact of the matter is, trying to put together a consistent game group.
It's a nightmare.
It's a social action with antisocial people.
Yeah. Like how they
Freaking paradox.
how they aren't teaching that in psychology classes and just using
They started using D&D in psychology.
not D&D,
Oh, just
the
gathering gamers together.
trying to gather people that want to belong to a game group, but they have all antisocial behavior.
But won't get out of their jammies.
Right, and it's just like everybody just always has, and you know how it is. How many game nights have you and I tried to start at either my house or your house, and we get the other 3 or 4 people that have agreed to they'll come and play,
Happens twice.
and it's 2-3 weeks, and it's like this is great, this game's going great. Then by that 4th week, it's Bill and I sitting on my patio drinking bourbon, going, "There's nobody coming, is there?" And it's like, it's just. It doesn't matter, and it can be the same group of people you try over and over again with, or it can be an all new group every time. Getting a consistent group together, it's some weird phenomenon in the gaming world of just like it's not going to happen. You're
Yeah.
not going to do it.
I've actually gotten lucky. Actually, some old Army buddies of mine, they're still playing the D&D game we played back in Fort Carson back in like 2000, right? Yeah. So the game is still, well, it's different campaigns and everything, but same freaking table of guys still playing. And we still play every freaking Monday night. Well, when I can come, right? Because work bullshit, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, every Monday night, everyone's on there. I mean, they're doing Roll20 now, but it was in person for 5 or 6 years until everyone moved away, and then it's all on Roll20 or something like that after that, and it's just like every single time. I don't know what it is about these groups, but
Once you find
Every
that
once in a
one
while?
group, though, it's like once you find that one group that
It's like that group that's in wherever it is, Wisconsin or whatever.
oh, that guy's had like the same campaign
it's been
for
this,
like,
it's been one campaign for like 25 years.
I
It's
thought, it was,
been
I thought it was
going.
like 30 years.
No, because they started in 1.5 in AD&D,
Mhm.
and his whole basement. It's been the same house in that basement, and now the whole basement is just that, like all the way around is nothing but
Yeah, he's got
minis and
terrain
terrain
and
and
minis
like the whole
and- yeah.
nine
What?
yards. It's
Dude,
impressive.
it's nuts. Yeah, I think Forbes did a video on it.
Yeah.
that was a big deal.
Wait, is it didn't the guy that builds like custom tables and does like a full on video about it? Didn't he make a table for him, like a full
No,
custom?
because
The
the
Dwarf
dude's
Forge guy.
No, because the dude's basement, there's a section. The way he has it set up, it's a massive table that like loops through. It's like an L-shaped giant table, and there's a section that they play like the narrative part of the game on when it's just like they're okay. You're at an
They're in
inn.
town
You talk
buying
to
swords
this.
and
Da,
shit,
da, 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 da. And then when the combat portion starts, like they all shift onto whatever terrain segment he has set up,
What?
so that it's all and everything's already gridded out. There's no way you could just be like, "Yeah, I made you a table." Like this thing, okay, you've seen like the nationwide commercials with Peyton Manning, right? And
Yeah.
The town that he has. That's essentially this dude's basement, but for D&D.
Jeez.
It's impressive. Like, and it is gross
Do
impressive.
you think it smells like Cheetos in there?
I think it probably smells like 2x4s and paint. Just on the sheer amount of painted
I bet there's some
Yeah.
Funyun in there too, though.
There's some Funyun.
Yeah.
Definitely some
Some Mountain Dew.
But in that thing, they said that at this point, there's now 3 generations playing that campaign.
That's cool, man.
Because they all started playing when they were like 18 to mid 20s. They started the game. And they kept playing, and then they got married. And then those people had kids. And now it's like, it's gone multi-generational in this one group. It's amazing.
Huh.
Yeah, it's impressive. Very, very impressive. But
That's awesome.
yeah, that's a game.
Oh, yeah. Well, see, but
I
that's
wanna
one
see
thing
the
that confused me,
stories
though.
of that.
Because D&D, I would argue, doesn't really support long-term play. I mean, you've got levels,
It depends on the DM.
but really the wizards are the only, or the spellcasters are the only ones that actually get any benefit from being at 10th level besides a couple cool tricks.
I think a lot of that depends on, are you being beholden to the math? Meaning, like, are you actually...
Well, 5e technically is just the math, right? They're not...
Yeah, but we're talking about a
Magic items and
25-year-old campaign at this
Yeah.
point.
Well, they've been playing first edition the whole time, too, which I'd argue does a better job of it.
But at that point, you can just do the whole, like, okay, levels don't matter. Yes, you guys have this, but that guy can just keep making new magic items and making new monsters. And regardless of how powerful they get, he can just keep making it harder.
Yeah.
It's also not hard for a GM to go, like, you know, as it dies, the magic releases from its body, shearing a portal that which you fall through, and when you wake up on the other side, you find yourself with nothing. Stripped of all your gear and you just reset the damn game.
But is that satisfying for a 25-year-old game every
No.
5 years to get freaking dumped on your ass
Nope.
again?
No.
Yeah.
But what you end up doing is that you do stuff like all of a sudden you've done everything on this continent. There's nothing more to explore. So you're at this dock and you get on a pirate ship, and now you go through some 3 or 4 year pirate campaign, and then you discover a new continent. You've got to go through all that shit.
I see what you're saying, but I mean, like, Joe Schmo Fighter, right?
Yeah.
In 5th edition, we'll say. He fights through 3rd level, so now he's gotten to the point where he has enough cash to get his full plate. He's got enough cash to get his greatsword.
Yeah.
What benefit does he really get by getting to 10th level?
I would bet, I'd be willing to bet.
He gets a couple cool new moves.
Yeah.
More hit points.
I'd be willing to bet they all got to 10th level.
Yeah.
And now they just don't keep track anymore. Now it's just they are playing RPGs the way I like RPGs to be played, which is it should be collaborative storytelling.
Yep.
Well, and that's where I like games like the old Basic Edition D&D,
Yep.
or even like the BECME, like the rules encyclopedia.
That's why I like
Because-
Blades in the Dark so much.
Blades in the Dark is pretty solid.
But like the basic D&D is very, very Spartan, right? There's not a whole lot there to grab a hold on to rules wise, right? As opposed to like a Pathfinder where it's very obvious why 18th level matters because you have access to XYZ, right?
Right.
Where, you know, in basic edition D&D, I mean, it was like you go from 0 to 36th freaking level, right? But you get a couple little light benefits here, but really there was all that space for story, right?
Yeah.
It's not like you're sitting here wondering, well, how am I going to get this guy to hit any harder?
Biggest thing I liked about old D&D too is when the modules came out.
Mhm.
The modules were they were windowed, where it'd be like, this is a module for players from this level to this level.
Mhm.
But it was so damn easy to just be like, okay, we just shift all this by 20% and we're good to go, and we can still play the module. Like
Most of them didn't even have monsters yet. You had to populate them, right?
Yeah.
So you just got the map and a story.
Yeah, that was it.
Yeah.
And so it was still the GM that could go in and be like, okay, well, they're gonna run into it's one of the biggest things that I loved about the way Stranger Things started.
Yeah.
Is they're playing that D&D campaign, they're all there, and they're sitting and they do and they're like, please don't play a Demigorgon, please don't play a Demigorgon, and they just like the Demigorgon appears and all that kind of stuff, and it's like, oh no, and it's like, because they all knew, because that monster manual back then, I've got it, it's right there,
Yeah.
like that's it. Oh shit, and that's a D&D monster manual, so that's
Well, that's the second edition, isn't it?
that might be 2E,
Yeah. It's the same shit, really. Just, I mean, a little
and that
revised.
one's still thicker. And that's nothing compared to a monster manual.
And they have
Now,
3
like-
more in second edition.
Yeah, so, I mean, like, you know, if you were coming at the end of a dungeon, there was probably 3 monsters that were maybe going to appear, unless you had a GM that was actually creative enough to be like, I'm going to dig into this lore or from this book or this piece of mythology or whatever and make their own stuff.
Me being one of them.
Like, it was...
It was easy to do back then, though. Like
back
now,
then when it started, it was so much easier.
now there's all this shit kind of hanging on, right? I mean, 5th edition's better than like, at least 3rd and 4th edition were as far in that regard, where you could just kind of just make some stuff up and it was really lightweight and easy to do.
3rd and 4th, I hated 3rd and 4th so much, that's why I became a Pathfinder player. Because 3.5 kind of hit the sweet spot for me, where it was like, all right, I get it, I know how this works, but it was still... If you didn't want to be so hardcore about the numbers, it's in this rulebook on this page, and I can hybrid this to that, and da-da-da-da-da. If you weren't trying to figure out that weird algorithm, it was still loose enough that you could be like...
See, I really enjoyed 5th edition because 5th edition was actually quite a bit like basic.
5e is clean.
A lot of people don't see, right?
Right.
Because people don't really understand that really 5th edition doesn't have skills. They have a bunch of things that look like skills. And you have a couple of proficiencies that make a couple of them better. But basic was just ability checks. And if you look at 5e, your athletics roll, is it really athletics? Or is it really just a strength check? Because it's strength-based.
Yeah.
You put your strength
breaking
bonus.
Oscar right now.
Yeah.
Because 5e is my playground. That's my playground.
And people will bitch about it in 5th edition, like, I need skills. Like, you don't have skills, dude. Look at it. All you have is proficiencies in 2 or 3 things. Everything else is a freaking ability modifier.
What you have is a game that originally existed in 2 books that they have figured out how to reskin into 15 books so that you'll buy all 15 damn books.
Charge you $50 for each one.
That's what that game is.
I've been scammed.
Yeah.
The man got you.
Nah, here's the thing. I haven't been scammed. I just got 1, 2, 3.
Look.
DM's Guide, Player's Handbook, Monster Manual.
You should get more. It's
all
good
I
shit.
need.
No.
It's
The other
good
ones
shit.
are great.
I get PDF versions of the other ones. They're much cheaper.
That's illegal, sir.
No, you can buy the PDFs.
You can buy the PDFs.
You can buy just the... You have them.
For 5e?
Yeah.
You get them from Beyond.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought you were actually like talking about getting like independent PDFs. I'm like,
No.
no.
No, but you can get those PDFs.
Yeah, on the Beyond
then you
app
can-
and read them
then
there.
You
Yeah.
can also just show up with your iPad and fucking have every book with you instead of having to walk around with a mobile bookcase.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, yeah, but I'm talking about like strict PDF files.
oh, you mean just like literally just...
Yeah, like you got
no.
like a PDF file of anything else.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's stealing.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
we don't recommend that.
No.
That is not endorsed. I'm not saying I haven't done it.
I'm saying it doesn't happen.
I will say that most of the time that I've ever done it has been because I have been looking for something that is out of print and you just can't find the shit anymore.
And routinely, if I find it and I like it, I'll go and buy the paper because I prefer to read the paper anyway.
I prefer to have the book.
Yeah.
Not even like the digital. I prefer to have a physical copy.
Nice
of
hardcover,
the book.
glossy pages. I am a bibliophile. I appreciate a
like
good book.
the book. I like the book. I'm that
Fifth
kind of guy
edition,
that,
their print quality is outstanding.
yeah, and I'm that kind of guy that I have my book and I've got my little sticky notes stuck in the book with all my little flags sticking
Not
out.
doing that, not writing on it. I'm not that guy.
But it's my book. I can do what the fuck I want with it,
but,
right?
I mean,
like,
I will write notes somewhere else.
no, I don't write in the book.
Yeah, I was gonna.
No. I
Disown
don't,
you.
No. I don't write in the book.
Okay.
Do you write on the sticky notes?
I'll write on the
book?
sticky note. No. You
Okay,
write-
good.
There's literally stacks of Post-it notes on my desk. So what I'll do is I'll write,
Stick.
and then I'll stick it, and what I'll do is I'll have a corner of it, or like the edge of it, sticking out of the page. And it's strictly, it's a speed.
It's more of a bookmark, right?
It's all it is. It's a bookmark that doesn't move around, because what I can do is I can find the column and space on the page that the
play some
information
freaking
I
D&D.
want is. Yeah, we need to.
That's what I do to my DM, my Dungeon Master's Guide and my Monster Manual.
Matter of fact, I
There's-
think
there's
from here,
monsters
if you
I
look
love
at
going to.
if you look at my Blades book, I think you can see.
Yeah, I can see it.
You can see flags sticking out of the
stickies?
top of my Blades book.
Hey, here, I'm gonna go ahead and help him.
So we got
you going to grab?
Bill walking away from the mic here.
Pulling some of the old ones.
The Invisible Stalker. I know
That's
you've never
in there.
seen it.
Yeah. Nobody's seen the Invisible
What
Stalker.
the fuck?
Dude.
That's old school.
I actually still have.
Peruse the Elder Tomes. Yes.
Yeah, this is
I'm seeing old school art and I am loving it.
Oh, dude, hold on. This is the best art in this whole damn book. I know this is
I
great
still have
for
the
podcast, right?
The AD&D.
So what Bill is holding on
box.
to right now is I have copies of D&D 2E. I have the Dungeon Master's Guide, the Monster Manual, the Legends and Lore, and the Tome of Magic.
What?
You showing him
Wait.
the Invisible Stalker? Yeah. So what he's showing him is the Invisible Stalker in the AD&D Monster Manual
From second edition.
from second edition. Now, the books back then were set up like old encyclopedias. So it was literally a picture and then the columns that ran around it with the information.
Cool fluff, stats,
Yep.
all that stuff.
It's all
yeah.
there. And an image so that you could get an idea of what you were fighting. But there is a monster in this manual called AD&D. And where the image should be, he's going to hold it up for the camera for the YouTube viewers, is just a blank white box. Because,
He's the invisible stalker.
yeah, so you're not going to see him.
Yep.
So actually,
One of my favorites.
on the end there's a cool one that he'll probably get right before the GURPS books. There's another D&D book.
Yeah,
The-
complete books.
Yeah,
So good.
look at that.
So good. That's history right there. They made 1,000 of those damn things.
Yeah.
Oh,
So-
do you remember the Encyclopedia Magica? That like the
Yep.
4-book little tome set that looked like little leather wizard books?
Yep.
Oh, those are so good.
So what I just had him give Oscar is a fake leather-bound book that is the complete book of elves from AD&D second
Oh, the art
edition.
was so much better too.
my god.
And back when the art looked like it should belong on a heavy metal album cover.
Fucking A.
So
Oh
good.
my god.
Look at all that. Look at that fake gold leaf.
Oh,
So good.
tasty.
Back when TSR was printing D&D.
Yes.
So
There was 1,000 of those for everything.
dude, every race out there
Yeah.
had the complete book.
Every race, every class.
Yeah, all of them. But I pick them
Oh
up when
my
I find them.
God.
Yeah.
When I can find them in the
Good.
right places, I pick them up.
I love the second edition, man.
I liked 2E, man. AD&D was great.
Well, really, AD&D Basic and second edition were all kind of the same game.
Yeah. AD&D, I think I liked AD&D so much because when I started playing, yeah. Isn't it great? When I started playing AD&D, I was young. So it turned into one of those like, yeah, but I'm an advanced player.
Yeah.
Because I
know things.
Because when you're young,
Yeah.
as soon as they put advanced on the cover, you were just like, oh, I've graduated. I know how to use these.
I know stuff.
Yeah. It's like, nope. This is how we got scammed back then. You got scammed now on all the fact that they've just renamed the rules 17 times and it's all in different books. Back then, they got us by releasing the complete book of elves. And the
Yeah,
complete book of this. And
I hate
the
to
complete
tip the
book of
cards,
that.
but I think every single adventure we've done so far has been another adventure from before.
Yeah. What was the
Storm.
Dark Prince
Well,
one?
we tried to do Underdark.
Yeah. Yeah, out of the
In
abyss.
5e.
That's kind of that one's that. Okay, for anybody that actually likes it, I'm not going to apologize. The Underdark one is actually I fucking
But
can't
you're
stand
not
it.
old enough to remember Forgotten Realms.
Ah.
And that's why we wanted to do
But
it.
Menzo Branson so bad.
Yeah.
Well, I'm reading the Legend of Drizzt books, and that's what made me fall in love with Menzo Berenzon.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're old enough to remember Forgotten Realms.
Yeah.
That's why we wanted to play it. And yet again, a gaming group that fell apart. Like, it just...
And I've actually ran that game like I think twice now, and it's not a bad adventure.
I don't like.
There's a big gaping hole in the middle.
There's like, what do you do? Like,
Well, you basically just farm for XP, right? So really, it's up to GM to build a campaign in the middle to get you to 15th level, so you can actually do something at the end.
Right after Magic, right before GURPS.
Tome of Magic. That's a good
Yeah,
one.
the original Tome of Magic. I've got Legends and Lore up there, too. Which is just a flavor book. That's all it is.
I miss the old print types that freaking second edition did. Even like even fourth edition, I think did a good job. Where they're like, hey, here's some lore books and here's some rule books, right? And so here's a little bit of both. You know, at first I thought I liked the fifth edition kind of schema where they're like, hey, here's a campaign book that has some cool fluff too,
Yeah.
right? And it also has a couple rules, right? But I mean, I miss just having my Forgotten Realms campaign setting book, right? And I could just freaking pour through that thing and figure it out.
Not to mention
And
the
just keep
art.
going. Oh, the art was so good
Good
in the
Lord.
maps. Yeah.
So beautiful.
Oh.
I'm gonna bring you something to add to your collection if you don't already have it up here,
What?
which doesn't look like you do. I have the starter box set for, I believe it's either AD&D or 2nd edition. That comes with the little red figurine.
You have the AD&D red box.
Yes.
Figures?
Pretty sure. Yes, with the figures.
Yeah, they were monocolor
They were red figures.
minifigs.
I thought the red box only had dice. I don't
The
remember figures.
D&D red box only had dice.
Oh, you're talking about the AD&D one.
He said he has
Oh.
the AD&D box.
Oh, shit.
Now I will admit that my red box that's up there is actually a reprint.
Yeah, that's the Stranger
the-
Things ones, right?
No, that one's literally a couple years back. They released a reprint of the D&D red box. So
And how can you tell? How can you tell?
the date? So it is a exact
Oh, yeah.
copy.
Okay.
That's the dead giveaway that you have a reprint.
Well, and that's also the
Wait a
I
minute,
think
no,
that's
my
the
box- my
Mensner
box is a black
red
box.
box. Not the
This-
not
so
the Mulvey red box.
The original D&D starter set is also known as Red Box D&D
Mhm.
because this is all you needed to actually start playing.
and this
Right.
is the Mensler version, so this is the one that started the Beckme series. When Beckme stands for basic,
Yeah.
expert, master, companion, master, immortal.
Yeah.
Which all got brought together in the Rule Cyclopedia.
Okay.
So it's a reprint of the original. Updated, but it's updated rule
It's the
set.
4th edition flashing on the back there too.
This is a 4th edition red box.
Ah,
So, but on my shelf, it looks like that.
looks right.
Mine has
So it
the-
looks right, but
The pictures
it's,
are good too.
but
mine
it's
has
not,
the-
and it's got the original art, and it's got all the
Oh, that's definitely 4th edition in there though.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
That's cool though.
there's the player's book, the dungeon master's book.
Dude, I'll back
Hey,
up
look at
D&D
that. Ready?
all day long, but D&D's still my 8th grade girlfriend, right? She's always gonna be that girl like, man, she was all right, man. You
I
know?
gotta take a look at this.
It's all unpunched, because why not?
I don't want to punch these.
This is the only thing I did is I took the cards apart. I don't know where the dice got off to, but
I like that. I like this a lot.
Yeah, the only problem with 4th edition is they went too deep into the special ability trees.
that's not the only thing wrong with 4th edition.
Well, no, they did some good things too, right? I really like the minion rules, right? They actually had
Yeah.
rules in 4th edition D&D where you could say, hey, this is a guy who's really only meant to get hit once and he dies.
Yeah.
Right?
I
He's
like
got some
the,
abilities. He's kind of like a road bump to get over, right? But he's not going to have a bunch of hit points. Not something you're going to spend time on.
Right.
A lot of
right.
that stuff too. A lot of stuff that I liked in 4th edition were it's exactly the kind of stuff you're talking about. Some of the decoy stuff.
Yeah.
And those kind of things. Like I said, 4th edition was more tactical. You didn't just overpower everything.
Absolutely.
There was a lot of obscure abilities that, well, they seemed obscure. But if you think about, like he just said, the minion rule, the decoy rules, and stuff like that, where it was like, I'm going to conjure this thing, and its job is to show up, look menacing, get its attention, it's going to get hit what in the face,
Take some
disappear,
licks, die, yeah.
but that's going to give me enough time to maneuver into a position where I can actually execute what I need to execute and stuff like that. It was a far more tactical game
Yeah.
than some of the new stuff out there. So
Okay.
speaking of new stuff out there,
Ooh.
anything fun and exciting in the pipe that you're looking at, Bill?
The Zweihander guys. Got a new book
Yeah,
coming
you
out.
sent me a link about
Yeah,
that.
it's basically like a colonial gothic type thing around the Revolution. Yeah. Trying to remember the name of it because it's completely freaking spaced on me. Right
Literally on the cover, there's a dude holding the flag with the tree on it and everything,
Yeah.
like one of the first battle flags of the U.S. and stuff like that. Like it's
now. Yeah, what Flames of Freedom
Mhm.
is what it's called by Zweihander.
It's essentially America, the RPG.
With some horror in there, right? They snuck it in, right? But their little stinger here is American Gothic horror tabletop RPG set in the 13 colonies of 1776. Yeah, and if you haven't played Zweihander, it's basically a retro clone of 2nd edition Warhammer Fantasy, which has always been a very dark and very heavy game, right? They have like 50 some odd classes you could be, but dying was not hard to do.
Old Warhammer was freaking awesome.
Oh, it was brutal, and then like that, like pretty intricate disease rules, things like that. I mean, you had some black powder, but that was kind of it as far as weapons, long range weapons were concerned. Everything else was, bows and hand to hand type stuff, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, so looks like they're taking Zweihander into the colonial realm, which should be pretty cool.
I'm taking a hard look at Frostpunk.
I told you. I showed you, dude. There's a lot of pretty minis.
I was aware of Frostpunk when they were trying to do it as a video game.
Yeah.
And they could not get the video game off the ground. So it was supposed to be a lot like Fallout,
Okay.
but think more,
Nuclear winter.
no, think more steampunk in Russia.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Now, I'm a steampunk, dieselpunk fan.
Okay.
I'm a fan of the world.
Before we go any further,
Yeah.
why are steampunk campaigns so hard to get off the ground?
Because it takes far more imagination on everybody's part.
Well, no one agrees on steampunk either.
So my
there's
thing is,
there's a knob there.
so my thing is, let's say, like Bill is my preferred GM. I've played underneath other players, underneath other GMs that were good. Bill's my preferred GM. One, he and I have the very same view on gaming, especially RPG gaming. We share a very similar view in that rule books are more guidelines than they are rule books. Meaning, if the GM decides that he wants to do something cool and it's going to make my player life more exciting, I don't care if he can reference a book or not.
Right.
And he, as a GM, if as a player I go, so Bill, I have this idea, and he's going to go,
Yeah.
I'm listening, go ahead. And if he thinks it's going to make his life more exciting as a GM, he's probably going to let me try it.
Well, we're going to make it work, because if you're having fun, that means the game's going to be having fun.
Right, because that's what an RPG should be. It shouldn't be,
It's a damn game.
it's not in the book. And it's like, it didn't matter that it's not in the book. It'd be fucking cool.
Right. Yeah.
RPGs are all about fucking cool.
Yeah. So,
They're about telling a good story and being fucking cool.
yeah. So,
Yeah. Space Ninjas?
Yeah.
In.
yeah. So that's why I
Cool.
prefer to, if I can, I will play in an RPG if he's GMing it. But if I was going to run a Frostpunk, a steampunk campaign, there's actually a book that I would require everybody to either go read and or listen to so we could set the rules for steampunk. And that book is called The Difference Engine,
Okay.
which is
Heard of that one.
arguably the first steampunk camp, because nowhere in it anywhere does it ever say the words steampunk.
See, I would argue Wild Wild West was steampunk. Even the old 60s show.
It was. No, I would absolutely say it is steampunk. Difference Engine, though, very much, in my opinion, is kind of the cradle of what we know as steampunk.
Okay.
That Victorian,
Taking notes.
low energy technology piece, where it's like technology and invention went rampant, but they didn't have power sources to do what they wanted it to do, which is truly steampunk. It should be low output energy source technology, so that everything kind of has to be weird and clunky, and a lot of the inventions don't make. It's kind of like, I don't know why you felt the need to invent this, but sure, we'll go with it.
Yeah.
Like auto strike matches instead of somebody figuring out a lighter. It's just like, okay. And it's like some sort of weird, you click it, a lever switches, it throws a spark onto a match, and that's what lights the match. Instead of you just striking the fucking match. Like everything in steampunk is like a Rube Goldberg machine. It's like 17 steps to do what you could do in
Do
one.
we need all these gears?
The Difference Engine, though, highly recommended if you haven't read it. It's absolutely phenomenal. I have an audiobook of it on my phone, and about once a year, I just listen to it again.
Have you guys ever heard of a book called The Leviathan?
Yep.
That's where I've taken a lot of awesome inspiration from.
So you would really, really like the Difference Engine if you liked Leviathan.
We need to play Deadlands.
That's actually what I was thinking. If he's saying he can't find a good steampunk campaign, I was like, we could just play Deadlands, which is literally just steampunk in the West.
Okay, how do you do? Okay,
With spirits.
you guys are both
with ghosts. Yeah.
You guys have both DM before.
Shit tons. What you got?
How do you prevent a steampunk campaign from turning into Weird West?
Don't set it in the West, one, which everybody wants to do because you write what you know,
Yeah.
right? You know the U.S. So the U.S. is like, well, we have to go Victorian era so that it doesn't make sense that just natural invention came along, right? So you've got to roll it back to have advanced technology in the era. So then everybody's like, well, you're in Arizona. And it's like, congratulations, you're playing the Wild Wild West.
Yeah.
Like,
Deadlands has a Lost Colony setting, which is actually sci-fi.
Ooh.
Yeah. Future Deadlands.
Ooh. that
Spaceship
sounds
Deadlands.
interesting.
yeah.
They have a noir Deadlands.
The noir one is
so
the
down
noir
for
one is
Orleans.
dope.
I am
Yeah.
so down for
Yeah.
that.
It introduces some new class like the Huckster and shit from Noir. From
Well, yeah, they brought
Deadlands
him in,
Noir.
right? Yeah.
So good.
Oh, yeah. Although I don't mind Wild West for my steampunk.
Look, Deadlands. If I'm gonna play Deadlands, I expect
You got to go all in.
Weird West.
Yeah.
Like I want. Like the last time I played Deadlands, I played a midget tinker, and it was awesome. I was 3'8", and I was a tinker. Deadlands has a crafting system.
So you're
in
a
it.
gnome.
I was a gnome. But gnomes aren't in that game. But I was a gnome. They don't have gnomes or dwarves, so I had to just play a little person. But there's a crafting system in that game that you actually use graph paper. Like gridded graph paper. And you
Are you talking classic Deadlands?
not the reboot. I'm talking about the old school.
not
Well, they rebooted it again.
Not the
Yeah.
Japs one, yeah?
No. I'm talking about original Deadlands.
Yeah.
Where there was poker chips and you used a deck of cards for
Yes.
initiative.
Oh my
and
Well,
God.
Savage does that still.
like old school Deadlands.
I wanted
there
to
was-
play that so bad. As soon as I saw the deck of cards and the poker chips, I was like, I'm in.
The deck of cards thing is really
Savage sometime.
the deck of cards thing is really cool once you figure it out. When you first start doing
It's
it,
like-
you're just like, you
It's weird.
what? And then when you realize you don't have to declare interrupts because you're declaring interrupts by the fact that you have the card that can just trump the dude that was gonna go.
Yeah.
Well, and if you want
So
better
part of-
initiative, you take feats to get better initiative.
And part of your initiative is literally just lying. So they're like, okay, we're gonna start at Ace of Spades. Who's got the Ace of Spades? And everybody's like, I don't have it. And then it like runs to the next person, and then all of a sudden it'll come and be like, there's my window, and you're just like, boop, it's my turn, and you just like do your thing, and it's like, oh shit, okay, now I get it. 'Cause you just run down the ranks.
It's just deception.
Well, that's also kind of part of the Wild
Yeah.
West was the whole poke. But they used graph paper, and you could draw anything that you wanted to like craft, make, manufacture, or whatever in this thing. So my gnome, I drew a mechanical writing bear
Oh, I remember.
out
this
on
fucking
graph
story.
paper and gave it to my GM. And my GM was like,
Shit.
yep, you explained how you do it. So next time you find somebody that can put it together. So the only thing he did was he kind of made me go on a quest to get the pieces that I need.
Well, that makes it more
Instead of just
interesting, right?
handing it to me,
Yeah.
right? Because I needed the power source
Just go
for
to Smith
it.
and Robards, go buy it, right?
Right. So he made me like, I had to find the right power source. I had to do this, that, and the other.
Ghost Rock, baby.
And, but after that, I had a fucking bear tank that I just roll around on in my bear tank. And I was like, it was awesome.
Their
Deadlands
Savage
is
Worlds, the latest Savage Worlds edition, actually, they've just kickstarted their Deadlands. I think it's supposed to be actually shipping next month.
Really?
Yeah, so it's their newest version of Deadlands. It's got all their new crap they're putting in, along with all the updates they did to the Savage Worlds they've done in the past like year or so, right?
Okay. What we should do, we should run both the original Deadlands and then the newest Deadlands.
I'm not going to lie, original Deadlands is clunky.
It is clunky.
It's
The nice part about Savage, their whole shtick is fast, furious fun, right? That's what they're pushing for. Everything happens super quick. One die roll, something happens or it doesn't, you move.
because like original Deadlands, you had to do like general shot or declared shot. And if you were declaring a shot, you had to pick a body part. And so you had to shoot, and then you had to roll to see if you hit. And then if you hit, it was like, okay, now you roll for damage. But then the other person got to roll for resistance and armor. It's a clunky system.
And Savage came from Deadlands. So you've got some of the same stuff, just simplified, right? So instead of saying which body part, you just have a called shot.
Right.
So if I'm shooting you in the hand, shooting you in the head, same freaking difference, right? It's going to do a little more damage, and it's going to have some sort of effect.
And then of course there's some house rulings to where you can say, oh, you're going.
So
for
like I don't mind general shot and called shot.
Yeah.
Where it was like I shoot at him. And it's like, okay, just roll to see if you hit.
Hit him somewhere.
Yeah. But if I do the whole like
I want to shoot him in the face.
I'm gonna shoot him in the face. I'm gonna post up in this window and I'm gonna shoot him
He
in the
doesn't have a
face.
helmet. I'm going to shoot him in the head.
Right. And then the GM goes like, all right, that's a declared shot, so you're gonna have to do it at a
-4. I think
-4 or whatever. But then it's like, yep, but remember, I have my rifle, full optic, blah 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 blah.
Yeah,
And
I
it's
get
like,
automatic aim.
then I get an automatic
marksman
this,
feat,
that, and the
yeah.
other, and then it's like, oh, so you're rolling. It's like even with your -4, I'm rolling at a +5. So,
Well, you can roll it. You still could get a 1 and botch it and jam up your rifle.
Sure.
Or something stupid, right?
but
yeah.
old
But you've
Dead-
got bennies in Savage too, so you can get yourself
old
out.
Deadlands though was
Yeah.
like, I'm gonna declare a shot, and everybody at the table would go, "Are you? Are you sure?" And it's like, yeah, and it's like, you know, you're rolling it like a -12, right? And it's like, no, I got this.
On a 6-sided die.
and then yeah, on a 6-sided die. And it's like, no, I got it. And it's like, so you'd roll, and they were like, all right, you declare. Roll to see whether or not you hit your declare. Okay, now roll to see whether or not you hit. Now roll to see how much damage you did.
Yeah.
Now they get to roll all the resistances against it. And it's like, oh, after all this math shakes out, you actually critically failed, and a mechanical spider that you didn't see fell out of the ceiling and attached itself to your face. And you're like, what the fuck? Like,
Whereas Savage, you only got 3 wounds, right? You roll a
yeah.
hit, you roll the damage. See how much damage was done, life moves on,
Yeah.
right? We're done. Now, they do have some cool extra mechanics, like for the hucksters, who are the hucksters are basically guys who found the source of magic from the Hoyle Book of Rules, right? So they're like guys who are like people who play card games and dice games that's the source of their magic, right? They have a mechanic in the game where you actually will have a separate deck of cards yourself and play a game of five card stud with yourself to see if you can steal power from the evil spirit that gives you all your strength.
Yep.
And if you lose, he takes you over for a short period of time to make you do bad things.
Oh, I
or
want to play this so
you
bad.
steal power from him. and go
Deadlands
to
is the
Dude,
tits.
it's so good. dude.
Deadlands is super
Yeah,
good.
and the Blesseds, they get as much power as they want, but they start screwing up and like failing their prayers. They'll start having problems. Like
I GM'd a Deadlands game, and a
So
dude
good.
played a paladin.
I've got like all 4 campaigns. You guys want to do Deadlands? I'm in.
I'm in.
Dude played a paladin. I was GMing, and I was like, oh, you're done. So I gave this dude an opportunity at like level 2 to essentially assign himself to an order.
Yeah.
And which is a thing that the paladins do anyways. They can go into these orders. So he joins this order. He joined the order, and of course, I already knew whatever order you join as a paladin, you were like virulently against some other group. Like, and I mean like
It's like Blades. You got a bad guy too, right?
like you're, and if you see him, it's like fight on sight. Like there's no
Yeah.
like, I'm just gonna watch this guy and see what happens. Nope, it doesn't matter. It's like out
Attack.
comes the weapons, and it's just go time all the time. So I already knew whatever order he picked, the world was just gonna be full of whatever the fuck he was supposed to hate. Like they were just gonna be everywhere. And so he finds this dude out at a crossroads as they're traveling. Declares
you do in a
this thing-
Western,
like
right?
you do in a Western. It's a, you know, it was
Tumbleweed goes.
yeah, it was at sunrise at a crossroads, and he ran into this dude when he was out praying and took his order and blah, 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 blah. The next town they walked into had been taken over. Literally from like the mayor to the shoeshine boy were all part of it. And I was just like,
Awesome.
yeah, it was great. And the dude, when he started the game, decided that the only thing he would ever carry as a true paladin was an edged weapon. So he carried no firearms,
Nice.
no nothing.
Machete preacher.
Yeah. So, well, by the end of it, he was walking around with a broadsword. And that was it. Chainmail and a broadsword in the
Dresden Files
desert.
fan.
And I was like, all right, let's go.
Played Michael.
Let's go.
And Oh no, it moved on to where he ended up with like a fleet of airships and shit. Like,
what?
yes. Oh, he had recruited an entire army, had a fleet of airships. Like,
They have a book called the Smith and Robards catalog from freaking Deadlands. That's all the wacky, like steampunky things that popped up. They've got like orthocopters and stuff like that. And like, yeah, dude, it's
no, because he took on a life vow at that point to purge the planet
California is
of anything that was that the paladins viewed as evil.
Yeah.
Not just in his order, but amongst all the orders. And so by the end of it, he had recruited his own army. He had a fleet of airships, and they would just go and come down and cleanse entire swaths of land.
That's basically a cult with extra steps.
It was awesome.
freaking California in Deadlands is an island chain now.
Yeah.
So like all of them went underwater.
I read at least that part. And
Except
then,
for this creepy cult in LA that's ran by this one dude that basically starves everyone, and they're all cannibals.
Isn't that like that string of islands in California, like rich with like ghost rock?
Yeah. Well, that's where a lot of it came out because of the ground
Yeah.
split there, yeah. But then you have to go get them from all the other sea monsters and everything that popped up too.
Deadlands is a blast.
Dude, it's so good.
It's ridiculous.
Well, and really Savage has Savage has a lot of really cool settings. They got East Texas University, where you're basically playing Buffy the Vampire Slayer in some podunk college.
The cool thing about the Savage systems is that they build for the ridiculous.
Oh, they go full
And
to
they
the fence.
want the players just to be like it's almost like a challenge where they're like, see how bonkers you can go before our rules won't let you do it. And it's like,
They snatched up the Flash Gordon license for a setting. Yeah.
No way.
They've got Flash Gordon books.
but I've yet to see, like I just described to you, this player somehow ended up with his own army and a fleet of airships, and it was totally allowed within the structure of the game. Like,
Absolutely legit.
I'm not talking about as the GM, I had to make exceptions for this dude. It was like, nope, this is all here. Like, it's, you cannot go too off the rails with that game.
No.
Like, it is insane.
One of the campaigns actually has the four horsemen of the apocalypse
Oh,
that you have to fight off. That were conjured up by this like Indian shaman who brought out all the ghost rock and all this stuff, right?
And that is why the Curse of Strahd is being a PC'd.
Yeah.
Full circle.
Full circle. So, well, hell, we were supposed to talk about a couple different topics, but it turns out on the first episode of 20-Sided Bullshit, we literally just discussed a whole bunch of 20-sided driven, or at least dice-driven
Savage is technically
topics.
20-sided, yeah. Gosk has some homework.
Oscar has some
Oh, yeah.
homework. Apparently, we need to figure out how to play Deadlands.
We can make that happen.
Next time, I think we should talk to him about riffs.
Ooh. Savage also has riffs.
Did Savage pick up riffs?
Yeah. I'm bringing the books.
Oh.
Actually, there's two local authors who did the latest upgrade on them and actually updated all the data too. So
That's awesome.
San Antonio writers, freaking, knocking out the riffs.
Riffs.
Dude, riffs is so good.
I'm gonna introduce you to Glitter Boys.
Look at dragons. Yeah, you can be a dragon. So it's a character class. Baby hatchling dragon.
Juicer for life.
Oh,
I'm gonna go ahead and make my character Danny from Ninja Sex Party, just like spandex butterfly.
that'd be a good juicer.
That'd be a great juicer, actually.
Yeah, they're basically
So,
just druggy super
Juicers
soldiers.
are
Yeah.
druggy super soldiers, and when they juice up, they move so fast that time around them seems to slow down.
They have an OD mechanic for when they
Oh
die.
my
Yeah,
God.
it's so good.
Yeah, but you can't do it too much or you literally OD. Like, there are games out there that
Well, in Savage, they call it Blaze of Glory.
that's actually true.
I would have died today, but I promised GM I will die by the end of this setting. Let me keep going.
Yep.
Yeah, it's so good.
Every time I've played Deadlands, I've always taken the addiction
Oh, yeah.
fault, and
You take a bad eye or something.
I always take the giant nose.
Oh, that's good.
Because there's one in there, I think it's called Huge Schnoz. It's
They got
literally what
mean
it's called
too.
in the book.
You just be mean.
But and then I'll also take Lustful, because there is nothing better than playing a character with a nicotine addiction, a huge nose, and that just wants to sleep with everybody. Because
It's
then,
a solid huckster.
because then the GM's always like, "But you're hideous," and it's like, "I know, but I have to get laid." It's like,
Paying extra.
it's great.
So good.
So there it is, the first episode of 20-sided bullshit. We hope you were at least not bored. Yes.
I enjoyed it.
So we're glad you hung out. From 3 dice chuckers to the other nerds that are out there.
By comparison to you guys, I'm like the complete noob.
Hang out longer, you'll be all right.
Yeah.
So we hope you enjoyed it, and get around the table, play some games, and share the nerd culture. I think when we post this up, we'll also put the link to the
Discord?
the old Discord
Yeah.
thing there. We'd love to find other gamers out there and find
We'll
other
put Facebook
nerds
up
out
too,
there
yeah.
and stuff like that, and the Facebook and all that stuff too.
Also, give us topics to talk about.
Yeah, that would be amazingly helpful. So until next time, I'm gonna go finish my drink and probably continue a conversation a lot like this, and we'll talk to all you guys next time.